Welcome viewers to part 1 of our fall 2022 Eastern Sierra trip. We departed the Ventura area where we were visiting family, heading up the 126 to the 14. This presented us with some different scenery than we would normally see. A bit north of Little Lake, we sighted a familiar red cinder cone. We had been meaning to check out the campground at Fossil Falls for some time, and this day we finally had some time available to do that. The road was a bit washboarded, but not terrible, and it's not far to the campground. There was not a soul in the campground, so we got some aerial footage. The Sierras in the background, combined with the red cinder cone right next door, make for some very nice scenery. There is a mine that operates here, producing rock and sand for the construction industry. During our visit, there was no appreciable noise. There are 11 campsites which are all well spaced out, and many can fit medium-sized rigs. The campground road is a bit rocky though. Water is available, and at $6 a night this is quite a deal. Keep in mind that summer is going to be quite hot here. Close by is Fossil Falls, a volcanic landscape which we did not have time to visit. We plan to come back and stay here in the future. If you have stayed here and explored this area, please leave us some tips in the comments section. There is a dry lake bed further down the access road, which I understand has tons of dispersed camping for any size rig. We grabbed a quick lunch and got on our way. I always perk up when we hit Bishop. It's just an hour away from our destination and the largest town in the area. Also, if you need fuel, this is where you want to get it, as prices get crazy further north. We drove right past Crowley Lake and Mammoth. We will be visiting them later in the trip. Crestview Rest Area is where you can grab fresh water. There was some construction going on, but the water was still reachable. After we filled our tank, we proceeded right across 395 to Owens River Road, our first camp spot. There are a lot of dispersed camping spots out here, and it's quite popular. Once we dropped off the trailer, we headed over to Deadmans Creek, just north of our campsite. The road was a little rough, but almost any vehicle with a bit of clearance should be able to make this. Deadmans Creek is named after the unfortunate miner Robert Hume, whose burned and headless body was found in a shallow grave in 1861. Shortly after, his head was discovered in the nearby creek. In the distance, we can see the Owens River Headwaters Wilderness area. Below us is Deadmans Creek. We gaze out upon the region's largest old-growth red fir forest. As it was now fall and following a dry year, the creek was down to a trickle. In the distance, Deadmans Creek turns into the Owens River. You can see this area is not far off the 395, but to get here you have to exit at Owens River Road and take the forest roads as we did. Across 395, Deadmans Creek Road works its way back towards Mammoth. We have boondocked back there before. I believe Big Springs Campground is just over that hill. I'll put a link to our 360-degree virtual campground tour in the description. As we continue to pan, you get a good overview of the boondocking areas in the forest around Owens River Road. There are many sites available, however most have tree coverage which can impact solar and Starlink, but are otherwise nice in the warm summers. Finally, it was time to head back to camp and get some food. We were just a short ways off Owens River Road, but it was very lightly trafficked and didn't bother us. That might be different during peak summer months. It took us a while to find a campsite with good sun exposure. Sausages were on the menu that night. Dan got a chance to practice her astral photography. The next morning, it was bright and sunny. We went for a short stroll in the forest. Later, Dang drove up to the June Lake Loop, and then visited the south end of Grant Lake. The water level was down considerably due to the drought. She encountered some deer having lunch. These two were just chowing down on the lush green meadow grass. I wonder what they're going to do when it gets cold here in another month. Later, she met with my brother Mike and they took a drive up to Bald Mountain. The views from up here are breathtaking, all 360 degrees. In the distance, you can see some snow dusting the Sierras from the prior day's storm. At the top, you will find the Bald Mountain Fire Lookout and also the warming hut. The warming hut is maintained by the Mammoth Lake Snowmobile Association, and I'm sure it's a welcome stop in cooler weather. It's set up on the honor system. Visitors use some provisions and leave others behind for the next guests. The lookout was put into commission in 1969 as a joint venture between Inyo and Toyabe National Forests. The skies, with puffy white clouds left over from the storm system, made for very pleasant visuals. Bark beetles are a major problem for many of the forests around here. The recent drought has left many trees stressed and vulnerable to the pests. Although mostly sunny, it was cool up there, and being on top of the hill, windy too. This time-lapse shows you just how much movement there was in the clouds. It was windy up there. We took a short hike up the side of Lookout Mountain, not to be confused with Bald Mountain Lookout. This is just southwest of the camping area we were at. We accessed this via Forest Road 2585, also known as Acularius Ranch Road, I believe. The Acularius and neighboring Alpers ranches are famous, having been around for generations. Acularius is still operating, I believe, and offers some lodging opportunities. Please leave a comment if you have stayed there. That's Mammoth Mountain straight ahead in the distance. This was just a short lunchtime walk, and I had to get back to work. Later, Dang met up with my brother Mike, and they headed up to Lee Vining to check out the log cabin mine area. Along the way is the Burgers Retreat Wildlife Sanctuary. The views here looking over Mono Lake are impressive. This contraption is actually a propane gun used to induce avalanches before they become a serious threat. They are fascinating to see in action, and I will link a video in the description. The log cabin mine was closed up during this visit, but I believe it is generally open to explore. There are a number of good videos available on YouTube if you search for log cabin mine. We will revisit this area in a few weeks when the fall colors are more pronounced. Such sweeping views and vibrant colors, it almost feels like you are in a different world. Wikipedia has a nice article on Mono Lake. Apparently, this lake was huge and historically covered large parts of Nevada and Utah. Probably its most distinguishing feature today are the tufa towers, which you can find lots of content on in YouTube land. This zoomed view shows the two islands. The smaller is known as Nejet and the larger is Pauha. Mark Twain had some adventures here, which he wrote about in his book Roughing It back in the 1800s. He described it as a lifeless, tireless, hideous desert, the loneliest place on earth. Apparently, Twain and his travel companion Higbee claimed to row 12 miles out to the Big Island and lost the boat for a while. It's quite a fun read and covered in chapter 39 of that book. Later, Mike and Dang visited Horse Meadows as it was just starting to turn color. Horse Meadows is on the south side of 120, which heads up into Yosemite, and four-wheel drive is recommended here. More evidence of bark beetles. This side looks up towards Tioga Pass and the east entrance to Yosemite. I just love these colors, especially in the afternoon sun. Time to head back to the camp. The next morning, Dang did a solo adventure of the surrounding area. Her first stop was off Pumice Mine Road. This area is a few miles northeast of June Lake. Crater Mountain is just to the north and part of the youngest mountain range in North America, the Mono Craters. From this point on, the road gets rougher, and Dang didn't want to attempt that solo, a smart choice. Looking back towards the Sierras, they still had a bit of snow from the prior storm, the first snow of the year. Time to move on to the next destination. Back towards the Mono Lake Basin Road, the plains make for an interesting juxtaposition to the Sierras in the background. This area has been used in several movies, including High Plains Drifter with Clint Eastwood. Crater lies just south of Mono Lake. It's only about 600 years old. We hiked up there in our 2021 video of Mono Lake. After work, we took a little fishing trip with Mike. We headed to the dam on the north side of Grant Lake. There's a pretty good boulder field to navigate, and even more so since the water level is so low these days. The Grant Lake Dam feeds waters into the LA Aqueduct that would have traditionally drained into Mono Lake. I'm not sure how much water is still being diverted, as there are many legal battles looming. Dang had a nice view from the truck. I had a few good bites, and I saw some large trout jumping from the lake, but alas, the bite was not on. Grant is the largest lake in the loop and offers a lot of recreation choices: boating, fishing, windsailing, you name it. No luck here, it was time to move on. You can easily see who, between my brother and I, is better at bouldering. We gave it another try near the inlet. I bet these guys ate all the fish. Time to head back to camp for the night. The next morning we checked out the Browns Owens River campground. I think we are going to have to book some time here in the future. Close by, off of Benton Crossing Road, are some alkali lakes that offer some interesting colors. There's such a wide variety of landscapes in this area. It looks like sea anemone and jellyfish. There are a lot of hot springs in this area as well, and some dispersed camping opportunities too. Nearby Crowley Lake has a very interesting shoreline here. On the evening of our last night at Owens River Dispersed, we decided to check out Obsidian Dome. It had been a long time since we last visited. Up this road is Hartley Springs Campground, and I will link our 360-degree virtual tour of that in the description. The road up to Obsidian Dome is a bit rough, but should be passable by almost any vehicle. We will come back to the parking area later and hike. If you saw our Mammoth Lakes, Creeks, and Rivers video from 2021, you might recognize this area. In that video, we hiked up here from Glass Creek Campground. I will link our 360-degree virtual tour of that campground in the description as well. Here you get a bird's eye view of the Obsidian features and hiking trails. We headed back towards the parking lot for an easier access trail to the dome. Walking up the trail is not hard, and it's maybe 1/10 of a mile long. The rocks in the area are very interesting, some almost entirely of obsidian and others mixed in streaks. I find it interesting that trees can grow in this big rock pile. This is a great spot for a quick visit if you are in the area. If you found this video useful, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video where we head into Mammoth Lakes proper and meet up with more family.